And so what in the movie is super accurate and what was missed in the movie? So super accurate is the straight line selling stuff. DiCaprio's got it. You doing the sales meetings and pumping people up. That's a big part of your culture, right?
Yeah, I was every morning and every afternoon we did that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Why did you know you had to do that twice a day?
Because what you say to salespeople every once in a while, it matters. What you say to them every day is just like, because salespeople go up and down. There's this constant keeping them positive, and all keeping their skills, honed and trained at the highest level. I'll tell you what was really accurate about the movie. The overall feeling that you got from the movie was really just, the camaraderie, the insanity, right? That was accurate. What was not accurate, and you'll probably really understand this, is that we never ever would ever say, "Oh, let's go rip people off." That's like never uttered on Wall Street. Like that's the dirtiest you can, because who would want to be part of it? It was always like, we really did try to make the money. It's just like it's really hard to do it.
Yeah, and it wasn't that important, but you tried to make the
money.
But
we tried to. It wasn't exactly. It wasn't that. We tried to. We never say, let's sell them the big stocks and then the dog shit. You never would say that. So it wasn't like that at all. Not even this. It was always like, let's sell them. We're going to make the money on these speculative stocks because they're great companies. So we're going to help build America. That was like sort of the vibe of it all, right? And in the beginning, we were true to that. And then at the end, yes, it got like a sort of a sham and corrupted over the years. But in the beginning, the message was very much like that. It was never like, let's first sell them the big stocks and then sell them the dog shit. Now, I understand why Scorsese did it, because it was a very easy way. You have 3 hours. How do you move the audience emotionally? To say, like, even in the movie, Leo says, at 12 o'clock, I bought back 1 million shares of this. He goes, you don't really give a shit, right? He looks at the camera and goes, the point is, we made 15 million. Like, they even say, like, who cares what we did wrong? Right. I was like trying to explain the crime with the actual technical crime was manipulation, free riding, parking, stock, right? No one cares. So it was much easier to say, let's rip off our customers like that, because it made it easier. So I didn't like hearing that, because it made me look like I was just trying to rip people off. It was not like that. But you take the good with the bad. That was one thing.
Right.
I think the biggest inaccuracy of the movie is the scene where I'm about to say I'm resigning, I gotta go, and Danny's gonna take over, and then I say, fuck it, I'm not leaving. The show goes on. That did not happen. I actually left.
Okay.
I wasn't stupid. I mean, like, that's stupid, right? And Danny took over. I ran the firm from behind the scenes, but I didn't publicly say I'm staying, I'm leaving, screw everybody, right? I wasn't that crazy. Diluted yet. Came a few years later, right? So that was one major inaccuracy, and then from that, a lot of things that were inaccurate flowed. But the point is, even all the things that flowed from there, they all happened, but in different times. Okay. Like I took the yacht, sunk the yacht, crashed the plane, but I wasn't sitting on the boat looking up while the plane crashed.
Right.
That happened a week later. Like the yacht sunk and then the plane crashed coming to get me.
How do you feel about the whole super yacht sinking incident, 10 years,
It was much better than
later.
the movie. That was one scene the movie didn't really...
Didn't do a good job of.
No, they didn't do a good job. What happened was I was part of it. I was complicit in this scene in the sense that we were trying to figure out a way, because we were running out of time. It's 3 hours. The movie's long.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out, how do we get you to Switzerland? Like, Aunt Patricia did die. Right? Everything happened, but there was completely unrelated stories. Like Aunt Patricia died. I had to go there and get things moved around and stuff. It had nothing to do with the yacht sinking. But they wanted to include the yacht sinking in the movie, so they had to how do we pull? So we actually sat down with me and Leo and Mark. We sat down trying to figure out can we do this, do that? And Leo said, what if she died? Would you have to? I said, well, theoretically, if she died, I could say, that's how.
It's storytelling.
It was, right? Storytelling, right?
Yeah.
So that's very common in theater, and that's why I said some of the events have been so they all happened independently, but they were moved around to serve the narrative, And
What about the drugs? The movie is kind
very
of
accurate.
Okay.
I
Cocaine and Quaaludes.
I was much worse than that.
Worse than what the movie showed.
Much worse.
What does that mean? How can it be worse?
Oh, it was so insane. It's almost only a drug. I don't know if you've probably never been addicted to drugs.
Yeah, I was actually. So I started with the drinking, then the coke came out, and then when I was in downtown Wall Street, the heroin came out.
And that's the one thing I never really got. Thankfully, I got painkillers, not heroin. So I don't know how bad you got, but I was talking to my head of sales, and he was sober now for a bunch of years, and he was saying he gets it. Like the human body can become accustomed to taking so much drugs that a lay person would think that can't be possible. It just can't be possible that you could take that much drugs and live. Yes, you can. Your body becomes, you get tolerance to
you
drugs.
have to take more.
And you have to take more and more. So it didn't start off that way, but by the end, like I was taking like one Quaalude. Okay, you probably remember Quaaludes from back in the day.
Barely. They were kind of not. They were kind of not around by the time I got there in the mid '90s.
They weren't around when I was. So we're pretty much, how old are you? We're the same age, right?
I'm 48. You're 52.
I'm older.
Right?
I'm older. Yeah, I'm 56, right?
56. Okay.
So you missed.
And for people that don't know what a Quaalude is,
Quaaludes is a sleeping pill that was designed to essentially be an easy, soft way to fall asleep. And then they found out, wait, but if I fight that for the first 10 minutes, I get the best high ever. And very quickly, in the 70s, it became the single most abused drug ever. You think OxyContin was bad? This is like that on steroids times 1,000. Like for every legitimate Quaalude prescription, there was a million phony ones being written, right? And people would line up for Quaaludes. Anyway, then it
was a barbiturate a bit. I mean, but it was kind of, does make you feel kind of ecstatic. It's
yes,
not
it was
like
a barbiturate, hypnotic, okay?
Right.
But it would make you feel very euphoric if you could just get over the sleep part of it, right?
Okay.
Which you could balance out with a little Coke or just simply be awake and walking around and then once you crashed over, it might make you go up for a while, right? Okay. But you're like really drunk, but in this drunk with euphoria and no hangover. So you go from massive like intoxication, like to like, what'd you say? In like 3 minutes, I could be like to the point where I'm slobbering like an idiot, all right? And you're like, what's wrong with that guy? And then I say, bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I come back 6 days. All right, now what were you saying? It wasn't like, see, alcohol's like, once you do it, you're like, next day you gotta sleep. There was no sleep. You would go from being stoned to being straight. So you could do, like if I could wake up at 6 o'clock, take 4 ludes, 1 lude would knock out a Navy SEAL for like 8 hours, 200 pounds. Me, I could take 4 and walk around because I was so, and then so I do that at 6 in the morning before my wife woke up because I wanted to get my first high in by myself. So I go up and down. She would go, hi, honey, I'm already sober, right? Then I go to work, and then be normal. Then
you could function at work
yes,
with all these drugs.
Because you'd go up, you wouldn't do them while at work.
Okay.
Well, in the end, we did. Then it's like everything else, it spiraled out of control.
Right.
But we had these like sort of like, we'll go to lunch, then it became a little extended lunch. Listen, it started with, I would take them only on a Friday night. Because then I had the whole weekend to recover. Right. But then I said, well, I could take them on a Friday and Saturday night because then I have Sunday to recover. And then I said, well, if I take them on Sunday before noon, I have the whole, well, I take them Sunday night and I'll still be okay, really. I'm a little tired. So before you know it, you take them 7 nights a week, 4 times a day, right? And then you say, well, I'm getting really tired. This is terrible. I can't be seen being tired. I got to do Coke to balance that out. And then you start doing Coke. But I get really anxious from Coke. I'm going to take some Xanax, And that was, but it doesn't really help me sleep. So we take some Ambien to sleep or Ativan. Oh my, and on and on. And my back hurts most of. So I'll take some morphine. And I was on 22 different drugs at the end.